UB40. Here we go. Hey, WM Siegel here. Gonna talk today about a friend of mine, a guy I grew up with. Um, no longer with us, but he just popped in my head recently, and I've thought a lot about people I've lost in life and how I don't remember their voice. You know, um, I don't have recordings of people. We didn't grow up using video cameras as much, I think, as probably we should have. But so, guy's name was Ben Stebbings, and he ended up being this prolific, incredible graffiti artist. Uh, he's gone, so I can say that now. But when we were kids, I first met him in sixth grade because in my small town, there were two elementary schools that came together at sixth, seventh, and eighth grade. And so it was neat. In a small town, you meet 100 new kids. And it's like, wow. Um, I was always a little bit shy, but it was just faces I had never seen in this tiny town. Um, and I was in lunch line. I remember this. And the kid behind me was Ben. And he had a necklace with acorns on it. There were, I don't remember, maybe 5 acorns. One had a B, a blank one, an E, a blank one, and then N. He just had Ben around his neck. I was like, maybe I could be friends with this kid. And I looked down, and he had a couple really long fingernails. I was like, what's up with your fingernails? Because you're a kid, you don't. I wasn't making fun of him. He told me, oh, it's good for dexterity, you know, because he used to like to make things a lot. He was an artist and just tinker, you know, be a little kid. And so he had thought to grow out these particular fingernails on these particular fingers because he was using them for whatever he was working on at the time, you know. At the time, he used to do a lot of cool stop animation. It's very easy to do now, but I remember we would sit in art class, the camera on, off, and you're doing these what are they called? Yeah, stop frame animations, claymation we called it, I guess. But he was just always up to it, you know. And he skateboarded, which was great because I was a skateboarder too. Never good, but I still have a skateboard. I've never not owned a skateboard since my very first. Um, that's just the way it was, you know. I don't know. I call it my shred stick. But yeah, so Ben skateboarded. He was an artist. He was a little shy, and I was like, oh, yeah, saw some kindred spirit there. And I remember going on a sleepover at his house. That was big for me because I was never too comfortable at other people's houses, eating there, sleeping. If I had my own stuff, but we slept in his treehouse in the front yard, and the treehouse was in the smallest tree. I mean, you could just leap into it. The platform right next to the road, and we just blasted Rage Against the Machine, the first album, over and over. It was a good time, you know. You get older, especially in a small town. It's weird when you're in a small town. It's like you turn on each other so fast, but none of it matters. We hung out, then we didn't hang out. In high school, we were friendly, but I feel like, you know, there was something between us. Um, I always loved art. I always made art, and a lot of people were better than me, but I feel like people, I don't know, you get mad at each other. I remember more than one occasion my artwork hanging up in the hallways at school being vandalized, and one of the times I know it was him. It's so funny to think back on it now, you know. I was so mad, you know. Ben, why would you do that? Who cares? You know, years go by, you're in your 20s. I'd see him at this pizza place that a friend of ours, the family owns. Ben worked there, and it's like nothing ever happened. You're chatting, we talk about art. He'd talk about his graffiti, quiet. He used to always get in trouble for that, big time. Um, we all used to get in trouble a lot, but the the graffiti was always there, and then another 10 years go by. You see him again, um, and I saw him. I was probably 35, and I just hear this loud bang. Right, I'm crossing the street from the bank, just not doing nothing. And I just hear this. I thought it was a gunshot. I turn around, and there's Ben in the middle of the street on this mountain bike with tires like this thick. I think they're the ones you use on sand dunes or something. I don't know what he was doing. He went right down. Boom! Sounds like a M80 going off. I run over. I'm like, Ben, what's up, man? He's like, hey, Adam, how you doing? He's like, I just got this fixed. He walks off in a huff. I was like, all right, I'll see you, bud. Then another 5 years go by. And I see him. I see a bike on the side of the road, just turned over. It's the middle of the day, and I'm driving. I'm with a friend. I see this bike on the side of the road. I was like, let's stop. Somebody could be hurt. Run out. There's Ben in the middle of the woods, no shirt on, and there's a natural spring. There were a lot of those where we grew up. Used to go down there, fill up the gallon. It'd be kind of like a spigot somebody built out something. They're all pretty old. I don't know how many are still around, but I see him just drinking water like a gazelle that has just run 20 miles. And it wasn't crazy because it was like he looks up, he sees me, he's like, Adam, hey. No reason either one of us should have been there. He's drinking out of this thing. I don't think of it as strange. I mean, we grew up playing, we were in the woods, and he's like, did you know this was here? I was like, no, I walked over. Sure enough, somebody had built the cement, had it come out. Thing was, I don't even know how long. Crystal clear water. I took a sip. I was like, do you need a ride somewhere? He's like, no, I'm riding to go meet this girl. Yeah, we'll see you, man. He just rode off. One of the most talented artists I've ever known in real life, is who this person is. And so it was cool. Getting into my 40s, I was like, wow, maybe I'm going to see Ben around. But, things happen. Another time, I was working as a cook at a brewery. He came in, ran up a tab, and tried to pay with paintings. All this art. It's just good old-fashioned fun. But, so I moved to a town, right? This is 3 years ago. I moved to an apartment within the town that I'm in. I knew that he had lived here at some point in the city I'm in. I never knew where. We weren't really acquainted at the time, but I knew he lived there, and it was a unique name. And I'll show the name just because he's passed. But there's a thing that you used to do. I don't know if anyone else out there was a little troublemaker, but if you had been arrested for some, stupid stuff, graffiti, maybe driving like an idiot, you grew up in a small town, you would get this habit. I don't know if it's unwritten, but I know that we all did it. You get these phone calls from the local police benevolent association or the whatever, and you give them $25 because you're a troublemaker, and you're like, well, maybe I get myself on some kind of list. Well, you're already on a list. So I learned after Ben's passing that he had this same habit of thinking maybe he'd get on some list, because I got a piece of mail at this apartment that I live in right now. I moved in 3 years ago. I was in a real bad place, no one to talk to, COVID's going on, so it's just an awful situation. And get my mail one day, and we get mail from the Police Relief Association, and it's addressed to, let me get the name here, to my buddy, Ben. He lived in this apartment. The kid I had that sleepover with in 1992 lived in this apartment. I mean, that's some full circle stuff. Maybe that's not him. I've never heard that name again in my life. I'm only a few towns away from where I grew up. It just blew my mind. That came in the mail. I'm going to keep this piece of mail for a long time. And I thought today about it, and I'm going to find some acorns and make a Ben necklace. Just to have. I don't know why I do these things, but they give me closure on a lot of stuff. But, yeah, here's to you, Ben. God bless you, brother.